Long before the roar of artillery and the thunder of tanks, whispers of a small yet formidable force traveled across Europe. German soldiers, confident in their training and superior firepower, first heard rumors of a fighting unit that seemed almost mythical. These were the Gurkhas, warriors from the rugged mountains of Nepal, whose bravery and skill had already earned them a reputation in the British Army. Tales of their courage were passed along the front lines, often mixed with awe and disbelief. How could a handful of men, often outnumbered and facing modern weapons, strike terror into trained German troops? The Gurkhas were not ordinary soldiers. From a young age, they were trained to endure harsh conditions, climb treacherous peaks, and fight with unmatched precision. Their most iconic weapon, the kukri knife, was as much a symbol of their heritage as it was a tool of combat. Unlike rifles or machine guns, the kukri demanded close contact, courage, and relentless determination. German intelligence reports, captured letters, and battlefield testimonies later revealed that even the thought of facing a Gurkha in hand-to-hand combat sent shivers down the spines of experienced soldiers. Stories of their early exploits spread quickly. In Burma and other Southeast Asian theaters, German soldiers encountered Gurkhas during raids and jungle engagements. Accounts describe sudden, almost ghostly attacks, with Gurkhas emerging from dense foliage, their movements swift, silent, and deadly. One officer wrote in his diary that the mere sound of a Gurkha unit approaching caused chaos among his men, breaking formations and sapping morale. Fear was not just physical, it was psychological, a potent weapon in its own right. The Gurkhas' ability to read the terrain and anticipate enemy movements made them uniquely effective in jungle and mountain warfare. They could disappear into dense forests only to strike unexpectedly, exploiting every shadow, every ridge, and every narrow pass. German soldiers reported that facing a Gurkha was like fighting a ghost. The engagement seemed to appear out of nowhere and vanish just as quickly, leaving confusion and terror in its wake. Their reputation spread not just through German ranks, but also among Allied soldiers, who marveled at their resilience and effectiveness under extreme conditions. But fear alone did not define the Gurkhas. Their reputation was built on skill, discipline, and an unwavering commitment to their mission. German soldiers noted that Gurkhas seemed almost fearless, charging into battle where others would hesitate. Their ability to navigate difficult terrain, coordinate ambushes, and strike with precision made them unpredictable and dangerous. Each encounter added another layer to the legend, reinforcing a growing fear among German units that they were facing something unlike anything they had trained for. By the time the first direct clashes occurred, the legend of the Gurkhas had already set the stage. German troops, expecting conventional opponents, found themselves facing warriors who combined mountain-born resilience, deadly combat skills, and an uncanny fearlessness. It was this combination of skill, tradition, and sheer courage that made the Gurkhas one of the most feared forces in the Second World War, and it is the stories of these first encounters that would echo in the minds of those who survived to tell them. Every letter, every diary entry, and every oral account contributes to the enduring myth of the Gurkhas, a force whose legacy continues to command respect and awe even decades after the war. The first time German soldiers faced the Gurkhas on the battlefield, the encounter was unlike anything they had imagined. Reports and diaries later revealed that many officers were stunned, and even seasoned veterans admitted to a deep, unshakable fear. In dense jungles and mountainous terrain, the Gurkhas appeared suddenly, often in perfect silence, using the shadows to their advantage. One German soldier described the moment he saw a Gurkha unit advancing through the foliage as like facing shadows that could strike with the force of a storm. The fear was immediate, instinctive, and hard to shake. These early confrontations quickly taught the Germans that conventional tactics would often fail against these mountain warriors. Standard formations, heavy artillery, and even machine guns did not always prevent the Gurkhas from closing the distance and engaging in brutal, close-quarters combat. Letters captured from German units reveal phrases like, "They come from nowhere," and "Their courage is inhuman." The Gurkhas' speed, agility, and fearless charges broke the morale of units that had been confident in their superiority. Every movement seemed unpredictable, every step calculated, and the Germans often realized too late that they were being hunted by an enemy who thrived in chaos. Some of the most terrifying accounts came from jungle skirmishes in Burma. German troops expecting conventional firefights were caught off guard by ambushes in narrow passes or along rivers. The Gurkhas moved silently through dense vegetation, their eyes scanning for weakness, their kukris ready to strike. One German officer wrote that his men, armed with rifles and grenades, were outmatched not by numbers but by the spirit of the enemy. The psychological impact was immediate. Panic spread faster than bullets, and units that might have held their ground collapsed under the unexpected ferocity. Each encounter left lasting memories of terror and helplessness. But it was not only their skill that created terror. German soldiers were often unnerved by the Gurkhas' calm demeanor under fire. While chaos reigned among other units, the Gurkhas seemed to move with purpose, almost as if they were untouchable. This created a terrifying contrast. German soldiers faced not just an enemy with weapons, but an enemy whose confidence and composure amplified the fear. Every encounter reinforced the growing legend that the Gurkhas were fearless warriors, impervious to conventional intimidation. Their reputation spread quickly, instilling dread even before the battle began, making every engagement a test not only of strength, but of nerve. Even when the Germans tried to adapt, the Gurkhas' unconventional approach continued to surprise them. Night raids, rapid ambushes, and the ability to disappear without a trace made these encounters unpredictable. Soldiers recalled that no matter how many bullets they fired or how well they fortified their positions, the Gurkhas could exploit any opening. The element of surprise was not just a tactic, it was a weapon that German troops could not defend against. Each story added to the reputation that even the best trained soldiers feared the day they would face a Gurkha. By the end of these initial clashes, the psychological effect had taken hold. German officers reported hesitation among their men, second-guessing every movement and strategy. The Gurkha's reputation was no longer based on rumor, it was confirmed through blood, sweat, and relentless combat. Tales of these first encounters spread quickly, cementing the idea that the Gurkhas were not only skillful fighters, but also masters of fear itself. It was in these first moments of confrontation that the legend of the Gurkhas truly began to terrify their adversaries, a legacy that would endure long after the battlefields went silent. The Gurkhas' reputation for close-quarters combat was unmatched during the Second World War, and it was their skill with the kukri knife that struck the deepest fear into German soldiers. Unlike rifles or machine guns, the kukri demanded total commitment and personal courage. Facing a Gurkha wielding this weapon was not just a fight, it was a confrontation with raw, disciplined aggression, honed over years of mountain training. German troops quickly realized that no conventional strategy could fully prepare them for such encounters. The kukri was more than a weapon, it was an extension of the Gurkha spirit, and in battle it became a symbol of their fearlessness. In the dense jungles and rugged hills of Burma and other Southeast Asian theaters, German soldiers often encountered Gurkhas in scenarios that left them bewildered. Ambushes could happen at any moment. One second, the enemy seemed distant. The next, Gurkhas emerged silently from the undergrowth, closing the distance with astonishing speed. Accounts from German officers describe the terror of seeing a Gurkha leap from cover, kukri raised, moving with deadly precision. In these moments, conventional firepower became almost irrelevant. Soldiers later admitted that their hearts raced not from the sound of gunfire, but from the thought of facing a Gurkha in hand-to-hand combat. The kukri itself was uniquely suited to jungle warfare. Its curved blade allowed for slashing and thrusting, and its design enabled devastating blows in confined spaces. Training with the weapon was rigorous. Gurkhas learned to strike with lightning speed, to anticipate movements, and to remain calm under pressure. For German soldiers, the encounters were terrifying because they involved little warning and no room for retreat. One veteran recalled that even experienced officers felt a paralyzing hesitation when a Gurkha approached within striking distance. The psychological impact was just as powerful as the physical threat. German accounts also highlight the Gurkhas' tactical brilliance in close combat. They never relied on sheer numbers alone. Their attacks were coordinated, precise, and relentless. A small unit could dismantle a larger German patrol by exploiting terrain, timing, and the element of surprise. Soldiers noted that it was impossible to predict where the next attack would come from. The combination of skill, courage, and unpredictability made every confrontation a test of nerve. Many German soldiers later admitted that the fear of the kukri-wielding Gurkhas lingered long after the battle, haunting them in letters and memoirs. But the terror was not confined to the battlefield alone. Stories of Gurkha bravery and lethal skill spread among German troops even before direct encounters. Rumors of their effectiveness amplified the fear, creating a psychological edge that the Gurkhas exploited effortlessly. By the time they engaged, the enemy was already on edge, reacting with caution, hesitation, and sometimes panic. It was this mastery of both physical and psychological warfare that cemented the kukri as more than a weapon. It became a symbol of Gurkha dominance, inspiring awe and dread in equal measure. Even after the battles ended, German veterans wrote about the haunting impression left by the Gurkhas. Their ability to dominate in close quarters, to strike with precision, and to instill fear with a mere presence became legendary. The kukri, once seen as a simple blade, became a symbol of a force that combined centuries of tradition, rigorous training, and unmatched courage. Each skirmish with a Gurkha reinforced the lesson that fear could be weaponized, that bravery and skill could overcome numbers and firepower. For the Germans, facing a Gurkha was not just combat, it was an encounter with a warrior unlike any they had known, a force that would leave an indelible mark on their memory. The Gurkhas were not only masters of close-quarters combat, but they also played decisive roles in larger battles where strategy and coordination were crucial. In many engagements against German forces, their skill in jungle and mountain warfare allowed them to turn the tide of combat, often against overwhelming odds. Accounts from both Allied and captured German reports highlight moments when Gurkha units struck with precision, exploiting terrain, timing, and the element of surprise to devastating effect. Each victory added to their growing reputation as one of the most feared fighting forces in World War II. One of the most remarkable aspects of Gurkha operations was their ability to move silently through terrain that would have immobilized other troops. Rivers, ridges, and dense forests became their allies, and German forces found themselves constantly outmaneuvered. In some cases, small Gurkha detachments were able to ambush entire German patrols, leaving survivors shocked by the efficiency and speed of the attacks. German diaries repeatedly mentioned that facing Gurkhas was like fighting shadows, with soldiers appearing and disappearing as if guided by some supernatural force. This combination of tactical genius and physical endurance made their operations legendary. Major battles in Burma showcased the Gurkhas' exceptional coordination. They were often deployed in reconnaissance, raiding, and defensive missions, demonstrating versatility that impressed both allies and enemies.
German officers noted the extraordinary discipline within Gurkha ranks as units executed complex maneuvers without hesitation, adapting to rapidly changing conditions. The Gurkhas' success was not merely a product of courage or weapon skill, it was also the result of superior battlefield intelligence, teamwork, and an instinct for anticipating enemy movements. This made them unpredictable, dangerous, and immensely effective. The psychological impact on German troops during these battles was profound. Even when armed with superior firepower, many soldiers hesitated, unsure of how to respond to an enemy that could strike anywhere, anytime. Letters and reports from the front describe how fear spread faster than bullets, undermining morale and causing mistakes that Gurkhas could exploit. Their ability to combine courage, skill, and stealth in coordinated attacks amplified the terror experienced by the Germans. A single Gurkha unit could influence the outcome of an entire engagement, demonstrating that reputation and tactical mastery could be as decisive as numbers or artillery. Every small skirmish, every sudden attack reinforced the growing legend of their invincibility. German soldiers also recognized the Gurkhas' ability to inspire fear beyond the battlefield. Stories of their victories, relentless courage, and uncanny effectiveness traveled quickly, creating a psychological edge even before an engagement began. Units would prepare for combat already shaken, aware that they were facing warriors who were not only physically formidable, but mentally unyielding. This reputation added weight to each encounter, as the Germans faced not just skilled fighters, but warriors whose very presence unsettled their opponents. By the end of these campaigns, the Gurkhas had established themselves as one of the most elite forces encountered by German soldiers during the war. Their combination of strategy, discipline, and fearsome combat ability ensured that every battle they fought became their legend. For German troops, surviving a clash with Gurkhas was as much about enduring psychological pressure as it was about surviving physical combat. These legendary battles proved that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could overcome even the most heavily armed and experienced forces, cementing the Gurkhas' legacy as warriors who left an indelible mark on the history of World War II, inspiring fear and respect in equal measure.
Even after the battles had ended and the guns fell silent, the legend of the Gurkhas continued to grow. German soldiers who survived encounters with these elite warriors carried vivid memories of their unmatched skill, fearlessness, and cunning. Letters, diaries, and post-war interviews revealed that the psychological impact of facing Gurkhas lingered for years. Soldiers spoke of hesitation, lingering fear, and a deep respect that bordered on awe. The Gurkhas were more than fighters. They were symbols of courage and discipline, a force whose reputation transcended the battlefield. The Gurkhas' legacy was also shaped by their ability to adapt to any situation. They excelled in dense jungles, rugged mountains, and even urban warfare, proving their versatility against every challenge. German veterans recalled that it was not just their skill with weapons, but their calmness under pressure, strategic thinking, and unbreakable morale that made them so formidable. Even when faced with superior numbers or firepower, Gurkhas maintained composure, coordinated attacks flawlessly, and struck with precision. Each engagement left German troops shaken, their confidence eroded, and their respect for the Gurkhas cemented. Stories of their courage and skill spread beyond the battlefield, contributing to a lasting mythos. German officers warned their men about Gurkhas before combat, recounting tales of sudden ambushes, flawless coordination, and the deadly efficiency of the kukri. This forewarning, however, did little to diminish the fear. Many soldiers admitted that no amount of preparation could truly ready them for the intensity and unpredictability of Gurkha attacks. The combination of physical skill and psychological intimidation made each encounter an ordeal, and surviving one was considered a testament to resilience. Even decades later, German memoirs continued to recount the terror of facing Gurkhas. Officers described them as unrelenting, unyielding, and almost superhuman in their effectiveness. The psychological impression they left was profound. The fear they inspired extended beyond the immediate battlefield and lingered in the minds of veterans long after the war. Their reputation was so widespread that it became a defining feature of military lore, influencing both Allied and Axis perceptions of elite combat forces. The Gurkhas' influence extended into modern military strategy as well. Their courage, discipline, and unconventional tactics inspired future generations of soldiers worldwide. German soldiers, once fearful opponents, often reflected on the lessons learned, that determination, skill, and unity could overcome technology and numbers. The Gurkhas demonstrated that true strength in combat comes not just from weapons, but from courage, training, and the will to succeed against all odds. Their legacy showed that mental resilience, adaptability, and unshakable focus could decide the outcome of any battle, making them as formidable physically as they were psychologically. By the time the Second World War ended, the Gurkhas had earned a place in history as one of the most feared and respected forces of the conflict. Their legend was secured not only by their victories, but by the fear they instilled in their adversaries. German soldiers' testimonies ensured that the Gurkhas' reputation would endure, celebrated in stories of bravery, skill, and indomitable spirit. The legacy of these mountain warriors continues to command respect and admiration, a lasting testament to the power of courage, discipline, and unwavering commitment in the face of adversity. Even today, their name evokes a mixture of awe and fear, a reminder that the legend of the Gurkhas was built on blood, sweat, and an unshakable will to prevail. Their influence persists in modern military units, where their techniques, courage, and unwavering discipline are studied and honored as a blueprint for elite warfare, ensuring that their story remains alive for generations to come, inspiring warriors everywhere to meet danger with the same fearless resolve.